Hi, my name is Samantha Lemoyne, and I'm going to go over my interactive whiteboard presentation with you today. There are a couple things I want to go over before I get started. My classroom setup is a little bit different than most of yours this semester. I teach a resource classroom, a special ed resource classroom, and normally I have grades K to 2, but this upcoming year I'm going to have 3rd grade, which is definitely different. The 2nd grade class I had last year was a very low class, and for various reasons, they are going to be held back in my room. So that means that I get to teach all subjects next year to them. They will not be going back to their regular ed rooms. And so that will be the first year that I get to teach social studies. So I'm very excited about it. It's a new territory for me. So I took this class as an opportunity to explore 3rd grade social studies, which has been very interesting. It was fun to get to use technology as a springboard to do some interesting things with the social studies curriculum, because technology is not my forte, so please do not judge the curriculum by my ability to express myself through technology. So, here we go with the lesson. And just bear with me, please, because like I said, technology is not my strong suit. So, where in the world is our topic today? 3rd grade social studies is about Louisiana. And of course, we start with Louisiana being so unique. And it goes into Louisiana's cultural uniqueness, but it starts with Louisiana's physical uniqueness. So our first slide is just the word unique. And so I would start there and build the students' vocabulary, because truly this whole first unit is truly about Louisiana being unique. So I would ask my students what they think the word unique means. Let me add a little side note. This is on my laptop. I do have a board in my classroom. This is my classroom. But it is a Sharp brand board, and the technology lady was from our school was here today, and I got her to come help me, but the Sharp brand is not compatible with any of the choices we had. So I just used the Smart Notebook technology, and just did it on my laptop. But normally I would do the exact same thing, and I do it on my board. So if you hear me say like the children would touch it, that's why they would do it on my board. So anyway, I have the word unique written in the middle of my screen, and the students would use some interactive pens, just like Promethean, and they would go up and touch it. Our board is a touchscreen board, and so that they would touch the board and write their definition of unique on it. There would only be 3 to 4 students in that social studies class, so it would be very easy for them to really get a hands-on experience with the board and with our curriculum. So we would start out there, and we would discuss unique and what it means, and then we would go into what it would mean for our state. Why is Louisiana unique? So in order to think about that, we would have to look at Louisiana. So in order to do that, we would go to Google Earth. And I didn't mean for it to be on Louisiana. So we would actually start with it not on Louisiana. It would be far away with it not pinpointed. But, so it would look like this, and we would search for Louisiana. Oh. and then it would go right there. And we would talk about the borders of Louisiana, how Louisiana got its borders, the shape of Louisiana, how the borders make the shape of Louisiana, why that is unique, how we think it got those borders, the bottom part of our state, why it might look like that, if we think that that bottom part of Louisiana has changed any, different things that make our state special, what all this might mean. So things like that. We would just go over just the basis of Louisiana. So after we get done discussing that, on the board, you can take your fingers and do like this, and it zooms in and out. So on here, we can do like this and zoom in and out. So we would zoom in, and I would actually find Pollock, Louisiana, which is in central Louisiana. We go to school at Pollock Elementary. So that would be a central location which all the students would definitely know, and they live right around here. So we would find Pollock. Here we are. It's much easier on the board. I see, and there's our school. So you can zoom right in and look, and it pulls up our school. If you get really close, you can see all the buildings. You can even see our classroom. So we would talk about that. A couple of the students live right around the school, so we would pull in, maybe look at their houses. After that, we would scroll out, and we would look at the outside community. They would go back out and just continue to get bigger and bigger and bigger, and talk about how our school and our community work together, and how our community plays with the other, plays outside with the other communities, plays into those, and they all work together to help our school and the other surrounding schools, and how it's kind of a team effort. And then we would talk about how our state works together with the other state. So we would just kind of keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and just keep zooming out. And then we would talk about how the states work together and form the United States, and how that's our country, and it takes everybody to work together to make it successful. And then we would talk about how our country has to work together with Mexico and Canada, and how that's our continent. And then we would have to talk about how our continent works together with the other continents. And, that's how the world works together. So that would take up a good bit of time. This would probably be 2 or 3 lessons in our class instead of just one. We would even discuss hemispheres. Well, before we do that, I forgot. I would ask the students to find by themselves 3 places on Google Earth, Shreveport, Baton Rouge, and New Orleans, independently by themselves. And then I would ask them to find the 3 states that border Louisiana. So just some practice with Google Earth, some interactive practice. Then we would watch a really neat little video on YouTube about the hemispheres. This would probably be a little bit deep for my students, but it's something that they have to be exposed to. It's grade level content. So it's a cute little video on their, probably the closest thing to their level about hemispheres. So after that, there's 2 different ways I would probably do this next activity. One being we would do it all together on the board. And then the next way, I would either do it with paper plates or construction paper. So this would be our community, and then this would be our state. This would be our country, our continent, and then this would be our world. So each level, you could get them to, if it was on paper plates, you would obviously, each circle gets a little bit bigger, but they could do them a different color. And you would put a brad here if this was paper, and that way each one moves. They're definitely separate entities, but they all build on each other. So we would label them here on the board. I'd probably get each student to come up and label them. And then we would do a hands-on activity so the students can work on their fine motor activity skills on coloring and cutting and all that good stuff. So this would definitely be an activity we would do in our class more than once, because I really want them to get the idea that everything works together. It takes all of us. That's a big key concept. So then we would move on to more maps. So we have 3 different maps here. We would look at all of them. We would discuss the borders again. We would discuss these little areas here, what they, what the parishes are called. We would discuss where our parish is. We would then discuss cardinal directions. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. Then we would look at this map. We would discuss how this map is different, how you can still see that it's got the parishes underneath it, so you can still get a good idea of where things are, but why this map is different, but it's still important. And then we have this final map. We would discuss, of course, what all the maps are called, the differences between the maps. Then what I would get my students to do is quiz each other. I would get them to ask questions. If you were going from New Orleans to Monroe, which way would you go? I would ask them some questions. Then I would get them to ask each other some questions. If I was in Shreveport going to the Gulf of Mexico, which way would I go? That kind of thing. If I was in Franklin Parish and I was trying to go to Avoyelles Parish, what direction would I go? And so they would have to tell me what map they would use, how they know this. And we would do a few on the board together, and I would let them use the interactive pens to circle their answer, draw their direction on the board, things like that. So they would get a lot of interactive time on the board answering these questions. Because like I said, there's only 3 of 4 students in that class, so it wouldn't take very much time for them to answer questions all together. So when the lesson is over, I use plickers in my classroom to do exit tickets. So that will be my assessment tool, which of course is the next part of this lesson, which you will see in the next assignment. So that would be how I would end this. Just a series of questions, and then they hold up their QR code, and then I scan with my phone, and we see on the board anonymously. I never ever show names of who got the question right and who needs more help. And then I also ask that question, who thinks they got it, who needs a little more practice, and who doesn't have it at all. I always ask that question at the end of the lesson. So this would be just one part of a lesson, and like I said, this may take us a week to go over this material. And with the students I have in my class, we may go over it more than one time. So this was our lesson. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you.